This weekend we celebrate Respect Life Sunday, and it is a call for us to remember the great dignity that each person has, how each person is made in the image and likeness of God, and also to defend against those attacks against that sacred dignity. In the first reading today, we hear from the prophet Habakkuk about the prophet as he's crying out, "I cry out to you violence, but you do not intervene. Destruction and violence is before me." And he's saying, "God, where are you?" It can almost be a call to us in these troubling times when we see so much violence in our world. Bombings and shootings and all sorts of stuff, where people are disrespected, where the dignity they have is laid low. And yet, God says, He speaks through the prophet, the vision still has its time. It will not disappoint. If it delays, wait for it. It will surely come, that the Lord is still moving in our midst. But we also have to participate. How do we recognize the sacred dignity that God has given to us and to the people around us? Do we recognize how God has created each one of us in His image and likeness? It's very easy to forget. It's very easy to forget this grace as we look on the world with the world's eyes. And how does the world look at people? The world looks at people as whoever is useful is good. Whoever is not useful, not so good. The more useful you are, the better you are. And we can kind of get with this as well. Sometimes internally we feel this way. When I succeed, when I end up doing very well, then I feel better about myself. When I fail, then I feel much more worthless. We can allow that worthlessness to sink into our hearts, into our minds. But the truth is, our dignity is not based on our actions. Our dignity is not based on our abilities. Our dignity is not based on how well we do in school or work or anything like that. Our dignity is based solely on the fact that we are loved by God and made in His image and likeness. What does this mean? Well, it means that, to put it as one mystic had Jesus speak to her this way, "I didn't come to you because you are worthy, and I'm not going to leave you because you're not." Or to put it another way, there's nothing you can do to make God love you any less. There's nothing you can do to make God love you any less. He loves you intimately, tenderly, deeply, passionately. And there's nothing you can do to change that. You may try running from His love, you may turn away from His love, but none of that changes the truth that God loves you to death. Quite literally, He loves you to death. We look at this and we can struggle with this. Because I know there are times in my life where, because of my sins, I might feel more unworthy of God's love. And while it may be that I'm unworthy of it, He still gives that love. He still loves me no less. This is the beauty of the good news. God will not turn away from us. Does that mean that there's nothing wrong with sin? There's no things that are terrible and wrong? No, God hates sin. God hates sin. But He still loves us even when we sin. So it's like a mother who has a child who breaks his leg. She doesn't dislike her child because he's broken his leg. She may hate what caused that break. She certainly doesn't like the pain it causes her son. But she still loves him. And God sees sin, and God sees what sin does to us. He sees that sin wounds us. It breaks us. It kills us. And He hates sin because of what it does to us. But He still loves us. Tenderly, intimately, deeply, passionately. No matter how many times we spit in His face, no matter how many times we say no to God, no matter how many times we turn our back on Him, He still loves us and is waiting for us to turn back to Him. This is the grace of the dignity that God gives to each of us. There's nothing we can do that can make God love us any less. We were made in His image and likeness. And so our sacred dignity is not based on our performance. Our sacred dignity is not based on how good we are. Our sacred dignity is based on the fact that God loves us. And so we have to look at this. And what does this mean in a practical sense? Well, when we look at people on death row, they did not sacrifice their dignity. We still have to respect the sacred dignity, no matter of what the sin that they caused, that they did. When we look at people who aren't, quote-unquote, useful to society, people who are sick, people who are elderly, people who are mentally ill, those who are drunks, we look and we say, we need to respect their sacred dignity, for they are still children of God, no less than us, loved, precious. Sometimes we come across people who are annoying. I know that never happens to you, but for the rest of us, we sometimes come across people who are hard to live with, hard to deal with. And we have to look and say, can I recognize the presence of God, the image of God in this person in front of me here today? This past Thursday, I was going to the bank to make a deposit. And as I was going from my car to the bank door, a woman approached me. It was a little odd. I never had I kind of like freaking out. It's like, what's this woman doing? And she says, I had my collar on, but it was open, so I don't know if she knew I was a priest or not. I don't know. I've been out to dinner before and had my collar on but open, and the waitress didn't even know till halfway through the meal that I was a priest. Really? Anyways, so I'm there, and she comes up and says, excuse me, can you spare anything to help me eat? And so we talk a little bit, and in the back of my mind I'm saying, okay, I don't like to give out money. Oh, but I have these Subway gift cards that I keep in my car just for this occasion. So I'm saying, okay, I can grab a $10 Subway gift card and I can give it to her. It gives her a great meal. She can even get a cookie if she wants. That's great. I like Subway. And they don't even pay me to make this commercial. So I'm thinking about this, and she says, and I'm pregnant, and I'm about to say congratulations, and she says, and I don't have the money for an abortion. And I'm like struck, like I was not expecting this. And it's like a dagger goes into my heart. I try to help her to see that maybe she should put her child up for adoption, but she does not want to hear it. And I went away sad, praying for her. I did give her the gift card, by the way. But it struck me. Not only had she lost sight of the sacred dignity of her child in her womb, how precious that gift from God is. She had lost track of her own dignity. She didn't know who she was. If she had known how precious she was, how loved she was, Oh dear God, what would have been different in her life? Do we recognize the sacred dignity of each person? The unborn, the sick, the elderly, those who are mentally ill, those who are sinners even to the point of being on death row. Can we recognize and see God's face in each person that we meet? That being said, a lot of times I've had people come to me, women come to me who have struggled because they've had an abortion. And they don't think that God can ever forgive them. They don't think that they're worthy of forgiveness. And I've worked with them and helped them, a number of women, to come to healing. For the shame, the self-hatred, even the trauma, the nightmares and other things that have happened to them after they've had an abortion. And God does bring healing. God longs to forgive. Did you hear the opening prayer today, the collect? A lot of times we skip over it. We don't pay that close attention. Almighty, ever-living God, who in the abundance of your kindness surpass the merits and the desires of those who entreat you. God surpasses our desires. He surpasses them. He doesn't meet our desires. He surpasses them. Then it goes on, pour out your mercy upon us to pardon what conscience dreads, and to give what prayer does not dare to ask. What are the areas of our lives where we feel like our conscience dreads to tread, doesn't want to look at? And God's mercy is poured out, longing to forgive us. And even if we don't dare to ask for it in prayer, God says, and I want to give this to you. God's name is mercy. God's name is love. We are called to see, to pierce through the outer form and see the sacred dignity in each person, the image and likeness, even in ourselves, that no matter how far we have fallen, God forgives, God loves, for there is nothing that we can do that can make God love us any less.